Hello, everybody. So I've been chatting with our guests here today for this interview. So we got a local author in the studio. Her name is Bondy Pare, and she's got her husband as well, Ed Pare. And we've been talking about everything here. The stories that she's wrote, that Chicken Soup for the Soul has, bought from her, and they've included in their books, and then some of her books that she's published, and she's working on her 8th. Both of you, how you doing today?
We're doing excellent. Thank you. Even though it's raining.
Yes. This is remarkable. Let's go back to your early days, Barb, and when you got into writing. What were some things when you were younger that you did like to write about?
Okay, when I was younger, I had a very difficult childhood. My mom and dad should never have gotten married. And so I wrote. I wrote when I was sad, when I was angry, when I was mad, when I was happy. I wrote. And that was my release. I also walked in nature. And my brother and sister and I, we sing and we play music. And Kathy is very good at the piano. My brother is excellent at the guitar. So that's how we released. And that's how we grew up and we made it. And then started counting our blessings because we found the good things. Because instead of keeping our mind focused on what was wrong, we said, we got to walk through this life. So we got to figure out somehow to do this. And so I wrote. And then when I had my children, having children, you don't sleep, you don't, you think, will they ever grow up? And I had 4 of them. So I wrote a lot during those times, and I took a lot of walks. The same thing. My brother and sister and I sang a lot to get through. Mm-hmm. Life is absolutely wonderful, but it's also difficult and very hard. So you have to find coping mechanisms. Mm-hmm. And my coping was writing. My daughter always said, Mom, there's books. I have journals. I have 27 journals still in my bedroom. Still, and I haven't even looked in those to write in my books about. I imagine I would have a lot more stories if I started looking back in time. But she said, why don't you do something with this? And I said, well, first of all, I'm too busy. Second of all, I can't afford to do books or anything like that. So my daughter and she brought her daughter to take swimming lessons. This publisher and his son were taking swimming lessons. So my daughter and Barry, is his name, Barry Connors, they sat together for 3 years, and she said to him, oh, my God, you remind me of my mother. You're talking with your hands. She goes, she would love you. 2 years later, I finally met this gentleman, and he said, your daughter says you're right. And I said, well, I write. I've written since I was little. I said, but you can't make any sense out of them all because I've got junk all over. And he said, send me a few. So I just grabbed a couple of pieces of paper and gave it to him, and he said, you know what? I'd like to take this on. And I told him, I said, I did have 4 stories in Chicken Soup that are published. And so he said, let me see. So he looked and he goes, yep, absolutely. So I said, well, yeah, how much is this going to cost me? He said, nothing. I am retired. I am bored. He said, this will give me something to focus on. And I'm there, are you for real? Who does that? Who takes on somebody? And I am computer idiot. If something goes wrong, I press every button. You probably are never going to get it back. He always says, sit on your hands. And so he taught me, and he took my stories and he showed me how to put them on and how to write them and how to fix them up and how to edit them. And oh my God, it's a passion. I absolutely love it because I'll wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea and I've got to get up and I've got to write it before I forget because I'm getting old. So.
Keep a pen and paper right by the bed?
No, they said to keep a pen and paper by the bed, but that doesn't work because I'm writing and I'm half asleep and I can't even read my writing the next morning. So I said, no, that's not going to work. I got to just get up, get to the computer and start. And I do. It's almost like I'm vomiting on a page. There's so much there that has to come out. And then when I'm done reading it all, then I make sense out of it. I'm there, oh my God. Most of it is really funny and really screwy, almost like a Irma Bombeck type, like is she for real? Yes. Every word I write is for real. Sorry to say. But I count my blessings. And when I was little, my grandpa used to be yappy like me, never shut up. And I used to think, if that old man would just be quiet, wouldn't that be nice? That's what I used to think. Now, I would give anything to hear him talk and talk about his younger years and how he met my Mime and that I loved with all my heart and soul. I wish I would have listened to him. But back then, I was a smart teenager. I knew everything, and I had friends, and I had things to do, and I'm going to be listening to this old man. Now, my grandchildren are no different than I am. They like their friends. They like their sports. They're not about to sit there and listen to me gab. I mean, once in a while they will, but I can't tell them everything I want to teach them. And I want my great-grandchildren and all the future generations to know who I was, to know that I've made plenty of mistakes. And I also know how to count my blessings and all the things I've lived through. I lost my first husband, the love of my life, my high school sweetheart, when I was 43, and how I had to go on, and how now I'm married to this wonderful man who asked me out in high school. And I told him, I'm not going out with you. I'm marrying Ron. 32 years later, he asked me for a date, and I said, I don't know. You're pretty boring, but let's try it. Now we've been married 21 years. So, I have a lot of hard things and a lot of good things. My dad was dying in the hospital from heart disease. And I went to see him, and I said, Dad, do you regret anything? And he said, yes. I haven't been to the Grand Canyon for my 7th time. You know number 7's my lucky number, Barb. I've only been 6 times. And I said, what about we break you out of this hospital and we go to the Grand Canyon? My husband had passed away the year before that. And he said, well, we can't do that. And I said, why not? So I went to the doctor and I said, my dad wants to go to the Grand Canyon. He said, you do know, he said, you're going to bring him back in a bag. He's not going to make it. And I said, Dad, you want to come back in a bag? He said, throw me over the cliff. I don't care. You know how much I love the Grand Canyon. I said, sorry, Doc, we're going. We went to the bank. We got some money out. We jumped in the car the next morning, and I drove to the Grand Canyon. Now, if you drove with me, I'm back and forthing. And if you're not sick when you get out in the car, you will be sick when you get out of the car. So my poor dying dad's back and forthing with me in the car all the way to the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. So he got there, and if you would have seen his face. Oh, my God, if you could have seen his face. It was so glorious. And then he slumped down to the ground. And then we had to call 911. I thought, oh, God, he is going to die here. I am going to have to throw him over. Oh, my God, now what am I going to do? And so the ambulance came. He refused to get in the ambulance. And he said, right across the street, there was a hotel. He said, get me to the hotel. I just need to lay down. So we got him to the hotel. We stayed there 3 days with him looking really ashen. And I thought, what did I do? And then he came out of it. And he said, okay, I need to go back there and look one more time. I'm there. Are you kidding me? We're going to go back to Matheson's Point, and you're going to look there one more time, and you really are going to die on me? He said, I need to do this. So I brought him there, and he did that. And he looked at it, and he said, bring me home. We drove all the way to Cincinnati. And in Cincinnati, he kept getting stronger and stronger. And we also stopped at these friends of his that we always used to stop at in Arkansas, Jean and Louise Drulard. And they're passed now, but they were like wonderful friends. And he got like a whole new sense of life when he saw them again. And then when we got to Cincinnati, he says, get out of the driver's seat. He said, because I'm not dying now, but with you driving, I wish I was. And he got behind the wheel. And we drove home, and that was like that. What a trip. What a trip to see my dad's. He lived 9 months after that. Wow. And was happy as can be. So that's just like one of the stories that I wrote in there. It's all about things that happened in my life. Yeah,
like you've had a lot happen in your life, and that's the like chicken soup for the soul, like stories like that really pull on the heartstrings. Like there's been a lot, obviously, that's happened in your life.
Yes.
You probably take a lot of inspiration from what's happened in your life. So when you come up with characters, are you using people's names that you know, or is it just completely random?
No, I'm using everybody I know. My children. I'm writing this for my grandkids and for my children, so their names need to be in there. And all my friends, I mean, what would I do with all my friends? Oh, my goodness. I have a group of girls that we've been getting together for 50-something years for lunch. And, and all we do is yap, yap, yap and tell each other everything. And we've been through weddings and divorces and you name it, and deaths and everything. And we help each other through. And their names need to be out there. They've been part of my support group. And my husband, I use everybody's name because I love them. And they're my support group, and they've been great. So, and I write poems because when I write a poem, it comes straight from my soul. And a lot of them are questioning, like, wow, what am I doing here? How did I get so lucky? Why do I deserve to be here and somebody better than me has gone up? Well, that's because God doesn't want idiots up there. But anyway. And then I started writing about our trips. Ed and I have decided we were going to travel.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that off air the three of us talked about here. If I could hug the world, I would wrap my arms around Africa. This is about you and Ed's trip to South Africa, the lion safaris. The stories here are absolutely wild. You were telling me that there was a tornado in Africa while you were both there. Obviously, the flight, too, it was 19 hours on the way there, then 30 hours on the way back.
Yes.
Chaotic, but also amazing. Like, just flipping through the pages, seeing the photos that you both took, where you stayed, the different animals, the people, too. I'm going to get Ed in on this one, too. Question for both of you. Summarize this experience as best you can.
It changed my heart. It changed my heart. Sometimes I don't know if it's the drumming I'm hearing in my ear or if it's my heartbeat, because it actually changed me. The people who are so little, who are so happy, and it made me appreciate my life and the blessings I have in it and the majesty of Africa, the scenery, you can't even explain it. The sunsets, the 16 elephants drinking out of the swimming pool. Go ahead, honey.
What I would say is everything in that book is true. There is no fabrication. It is the experiences that we had while we were on this trip. And to be perfectly honest, this is the best trip that I've ever had. Just being amongst the wild animals, the adrenaline flow, I just can't, I cannot explain it. And I will tell you, I could never go to a zoo again to see these animals. You have to see them in their natural habitat.
It's life-changing.
It
definitely is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The whole trip sounds like it was amazing, obviously, and the chaotic moments that were just from nature and whatnot. But what were you two most surprised about when you were there in terms of animals, in terms of the lifestyle, even in terms of the safaris resorts where you were staying?
Well, I didn't think we were going to be in 3 tents. I've never been camping in my life. I'm used to, I guess I'm spoiled. I like a TV. I like warmth. I like, air conditioning, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't like that. It was 106 degrees and it was hot. And we took the towels from the tent and we would dump them in a pail of ice and put them around our necks because it was so hot, we were just dying when we were there. So, and I was surprised at the women, the women and the men. Right now in our society, we're pretty equal, but in there you are not. If you are a woman, there's the lion and the lion king, and then there's the lioness who does all the work and administers to the husband. And we went to eat at a place, at a person's home. And there were 5 of us there, 3 men and my 2 ladies. And so she washed all the men's hands. The lady washed all the men's hands, and she gave me the bucket. And I'm like, I guess I washed my own hands. Okay, wash my own hands. And then she fixed the plates with all their food and handed it to each of the men. And so I have food allergies, and there's not a whole lot I can eat. I'm allergic to sugar and white flour, so there's not much I can eat. So I buy these special bars that I can have protein. And so I pulled out a protein bar because they were eating, the men, and I took a bite. And she put her finger at me and she said, "Stop." And I'm there, "Well, stop what? Who's she talking to?" And she said, "You, how dare you?" And I'm there, "I'm sorry, but I have food allergies. That's why I'm not partaking." And she said, "You are a woman. You are not allowed to eat until the Lion King has finished eating, and then the children eat. And if there's anything left, that's when we eat, not a minute before." I'm there, "Oh my God, that's ridiculous." But I mean, I didn't, it just flew out of my mouth. I didn't think, And she said, "You are a witch lady." She called me a witch lady and stuck her finger at me. And I thought, "Oh my God, what did I do? I didn't mean to do it." I didn't know. And so she said, "Yes, the women cook." And then Ed yells out, "Well, I'm the one who cooks at home." And she said, "What?" She slammed the door shut. And she said, "Oh my God, if anybody hears us," she goes, we'll have to leave. She goes, "Nobody can hear this." She said, "You are done." She said, "You cannot be here." She goes, "We will be in trouble." Because I guess I don't know, I wasn't following the rules. Africa, I didn't know the rules in Africa. Nobody told me.
No, that's totally fair and understandable.
But I mean, she was super, super upset with me. I apologized. I said, I am really sorry. I didn't mean anything bad about it. And then I said, and I'm not a pretty princess. Like, Ed does do the cooking because he's way better cook than I am. But I help him chop everything up. I'm like the sous chef. He tells me what to do, and I do it, and he does
team.
the make. Yeah, like we're a team. And
Now, I have to admit, I really loved it. I thought we should bring that tradition back home.
I said, no way, Bob.
What were you the most surprised about over there in terms of the life, the people, the resorts that you stayed at?
Just being up close to the animals.
Yeah, that was the best.
I mean, we were at this one tent for 3 nights. 2 out of the 3 nights, the herd of elephants came and drank out of the swimming pool. Wow. We were no more than 10 feet away from a herd of elephants with nothing in between us.
Yes.
I mean, everybody's taking pictures and posing in front of the elephants, and then all of a sudden, we saw the elephant trunks going up in the air and coming down. Going up in the air and coming down. And we wondered, what does that mean? And they said, oh, they can smell. The lions are in the area.
Oh.
And so immediately the herd left. Well, that night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, they got us all up and we went on a safari into the jungle and we got to see lions hunting. I couldn't believe it, but there was female, male, female, male, and they were all in a row, and they were equal
Coming
distance
in from
apart.
each side.
And then eventually we found a herd of Cape buffalo. That's where they were headed.
Yeah, 250 Cape buffalo were settled for the night, and that's what they were doing. They were looking for the sickly one.
Just seeing them in their natural environment hunting.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw all kinds
I don't
of
think you'll ever see that again.
Yep. Oh, and the elephant dung. Oh my God, that was the funniest thing in the world. I mean, elephant poop they use for medicinal, they use for cancer, they do all kinds of things. But the funniest thing of all, they got this great big sign: "Do not run over the dung," or what do they call, or the dung beetles. And here's this little tiny, looks like an ant almost, okay? And he's on his 2 legs and he's pushing this big ball of poop, which is like, I don't know, 100 times bigger than him. He's pushing it, but there's a little guy hitchhiking. Another one of his friends is hitchhiking on top, and he's going around and around. And when he gets tired, this guy gets off, this guy rests, and he keeps on going. And you see this big ball of poop rolling down the road next to the Jeeps, and you're not allowed to get near him because dung is very, very important to Africa. And believe me, when you go to Africa, the beauty of it is unreal. And oh my God, the sounds, the birds, they cackle all night long, and all the animals come out at night. And we couldn't sleep the first night because we had baboons fighting underneath us. We had alligators underneath us. We had baboons jumping up and down our tent. And what the heck is going on? And like the cackle is crazy. But the best part of Africa is the smell. As soon as you get off in Africa, the dung smell, oh yes. Oh, yeah. You can't forget that one.
It sounds like it was an amazing trip, though. Like, it really does. Life-changing for
fabulous.
both of you. Now I'm really intrigued. I don't know if I can be on a plane that long, but still.
Hey.
Maybe one day.
Trust me, I don't fly very well.
He doesn't fly.
I've never
he
been
doesn't
on a
do-
plane,
Yeah.
so.
He doesn't fly. He doesn't do boats. He's afraid of water.
But I do it for her.
But he did it all for me. And look how happy he is. See? Look at that. You can do it.
I'm going to try. Now, when we first met, you were coming in. You gave me a hug. You're like, nope, I don't shake hands, I hug. And
I do.
I'm, okay, completely threw me for a loop because it's not very often people right away, whatever. That's this other book here. My name is Barb, and I hug.
That's my very first book.
That's your very first book. Take me through this one.
Okay. My name is Barb, and I hug. When I met my publisher, Barry, he says, "Hi, I'm Barry," and he stuck his hand out. I said, "My name is Barb, and I hug. I don't stick out the hand. Forget it." So I gave him a big hug. And he looked at me, first of all, like I was half crazy or something. But when we finished the book, he said, I know exactly what to call this book. And I said, what? He said, the very first words you said to me. And so that's where the title came from. But my very first book starts off with my childhood, where I was born, how, all the different stories of when I was little, about my parents' marriage, which was not a good one, about me saving my little brothers and sisters because in the middle of the night when they would fight, I would have to take them to the neighbors to save them. And it goes on through when I lost my darling husband, the love of my life, and it goes through that. It goes through my dad at the Grand Canyon, goes through my mom's illness. It talks about my young life, my former years, and and then a few stories of now too, also, like depending on the grandkids. And then I focused on the grandkids, and I explained every grandchild and how much they mean to me, because I want them to know. You don't always communicate how much these children bring joy to your life, and I wanted them to know. And I wanted them to know if they're ever having a hard time in their life, if they're ever doubting themselves or going through something difficult, read what I wrote about you, because every one of them is 100% unique. There's not one of them that's the same, but everyone has their strengths, and I see their strengths. They may not recognize them, but read about it in the book. Read about what I see in you, which is there, that you can capitalize and you can use, and you can say, wow, I am that, aren't I?
So it's almost like an autobiography about your life, and
Yeah,
then
it is.
everybody that has, come
That's
from your life,
exactly
your
what it
children,
is.
your
Yes.
grandchildren.
Yeah.
And, just even reading the front there, like the first couple pages, just glancing it over, that's, working on the farm with your dad, Archie,
yes.
and your mem Olympe. I hope I said that right.
Olympe, yeah.
Olympe. Like, just look, and now I'm interested and intrigued, just browsing through like the photographs.
Yeah, that's
like,
my husband when he was born. Look how cute he was. It's adorable. He always stayed that cute.
That's got to be the Arizona.
That's the Arizona. That's what my dad and I took off, and we got stuck in a big giant snowstorm on our way when he was dying. And so we had to go all the way around Tucson because there was so much snow, we couldn't get to the Grand Canyon. So we went all the way through Tucson, and that was 112 degrees. And then when we went to the Grand Canyon with snow on the ground. I'm there. Oh my goodness, it was like one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
Kind of like my life is always one extreme to the other. But you know what? It's darn good.
Hey, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's obviously a story that had to be wrote. It really did.
It's like I have an explosion inside of me that has to come out. It has to come out. It has to come out every day. Every day there's something that goes screwy, or something that's so amazing, or something that's really hard.
Yeah.
And it has to come out.
Yeah. No, completely understandable. And as we're starting to wrap up here, you're working on another book right now.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
That book is a continuation of what's going on in my life from after Africa and after New Zealand, and now we are going to Ireland in June, and in September.
I'm going to Ireland in July.
Are you? Awesome. And then in September we're going on a cruise through Greece and all around there.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
wow.
so there's going to be more about that kind of stuff in there, what we saw, what we didn't see, who we met.
Greece, Croatia, you going through?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Beautiful.
There's a whole bunch of islands. I don't remember exactly where, but
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, so we're traveling. You know what? We're getting older. We're getting up there, and you don't know. There's so many of my friends and relatives that have passed on, younger than us. And I said, we've got to see this majestic world. And I believe in God. I say my prayers every day, and I need them. We all need them. We can't do it alone. We definitely need some help. And also, my books have a lot of poems. This latest book that I'm coming up with has a lot of poetry. And my poetry, the first one, not so much. But each book, I'm getting more and more poetry coming in. And that, I bare my soul in my poetry. So,
There we go. I thought I saw one.
my first, the
Flipping through can't
this
do it
one
right now
probably
over
has more, but yeah.
No, that is fantastic. We look forward to following along your journey, you and Ed's journey, what comes of it, what's going to be in the next book. Really looking forward to it.
Oh,
Do you
thank
have a
you.
website or anything? Where can people get your books?
The first one that I wrote, this one is on Amazon.
Oh, wonderful. So that's convenient for a lot of people in today's day and age.
Yeah, but only the first one's on Amazon. The other ones are on Blurb, and here's the website at the bottom that if you want to order them, you can go to that website and you can order it right on that website.
So if anybody is interested, if I could hug the world, I would wrap my arms around Africa. My name is Barb, and I hug other books as well. Go to barry4629.wix. That's WIX site.com/Barb. Barb, Ed, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been a joy to chat with you on air, off air. talk about like the travels and what some of the stuff that's happened in your life and whatnot. And it's been a pleasure to meet both of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And thank
You're
you.
the best. I need a hug.
And thank you, because this is Barb's passion, and this is what she lives for.
Yes. Well, thank you both for coming in. Ed Pare and Barb Bondy Pare, everybody.
Thank you.